Jarvis, we've taken a look at a couple of different positions on this team heading into 2026, but it feels like we've when these guys signed out of the transfer portal, when they signed as freshmen coming in, we've talked about a few of them, but overall as an entire position group, one that saw a lot of change from 2025 to this season. I mean, there was so many seniors
Yeah.
amongst that group, and then Luke Harpering who moves. How do you feel like this tight end room is measuring up for Nathan Brock in this offense heading into this upcoming season?
Well, let me start off by saying how they measure up physically. Gavin
Okay.
Harris, 6'3", 240. Spencer Merman, 6'6", 260. Chris Corbo, 6'5", 250. Yep, that sounds about right. Yeah, just from a physical standpoint. Now, let's look at the production that you got out of that tight end group last year. You know how many catches they had combined, Caleb?
How many?
36. 36 catches combined. Do you know how many catches Gavin Harris had for New Mexico last year? 37. So he had more catches than all of them combined.
Wow.
And, yeah, Chris Corbo, who's a pass catching tight end, he had 45. So, yeah, both of them individuals had more catches than the entire tight end room last year. So, yeah, Brent Key did his job. He upgraded that tight end room tremendously. And Spencer Merman's, we know that he's a blocking tight end.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Well, but you need that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course.
That's my thing is you not only get a blocking tight end, which it's funny. I feel like college football fans in general just have less respect for those type of guys because they want the Travis Kelce's, they want the George Kittles, they want the flashy pass catchers, and
Yeah.
yet with the way this team is going to run the football with Justice Haynes, it is going to be so imperative that they have a guy like Spencer Mermans, who is, I mean, literally discussed as the best FCS blocking tight end this past season. So being able to get that type of guy, and then as you mentioned, getting some pass catching tight ends. I'm also interested in not only like I think the freshmen who are coming in, probably not going to see the field a ton. If we're being completely honest, I don't think that's a diss to them as talented players. The only way that I can see potentially one of them seeing the field is Nathan. I always want to mess up his name. Aguamang,
Man, yeah.
who is that hybrid role, 6'5", 230, played both wide receiver and tight end in high school. And I would wonder if, because of depth at wide receiver for the Yellow Jackets this upcoming year, if we don't see that hybrid role end up more with the receivers than he ends up with the tight ends. Otherwise, I think you've got redshirt sophomore in Kevin Roche that I think is going to be a really interesting potential breakout option, just because dude's got incredible hands that he showed from his high school days, and he is 6'9", 255. And Jarvis, you know how I get about measurables, man.
Of course,
I
yeah. Yeah.
I just
I'll dream a little bit.
prototype
Yeah, I get it.
pass catching tight end. I feel like another year of development for Kevin Roche. I would love to see this tight end room get as stacked as it felt like they were as a senior group this past year, even though, as you mentioned, didn't catch a ton of passes.
And to add to that, to give a little credit towards the tight end room last year, Buster Faulkner didn't use tight ends like that.
No,
It
and it
wasn't
kind of
part of his offense.
I feel like it drove me nuts last year too, because I felt
True.
there were so many opportunities left on the table where Haynes should have been finding his tight ends more.
Yeah, I mean, because they're your best friend, especially for young quarterbacks. So, and bring it to the now and what we're looking at now. That's why I feel like they brought in some pass catching tight ends. Talked about Roush. You talk about Spencer Merman's. I could easily see George Godsey using a lot of 12 personnel this year, man.
Yes.
Because it just makes too much sense. And especially in the passing game as well, because like you said, when you're cooking in that run game, man, that play action is going to be your best friend. And most of the times when you got big guys who can block and also catch passes when they're wide open, because that's a lot of times what happened. Tight end is kind of forgotten about, in today's offenses, because guys want to run these 11 personnel out there with 3 wide receivers and all that stuff. So those guys being taken off the field for the most part, unless you got a hybrid guy that can line up in the slot and be effective. But I think just from a schematic standpoint, I feel like George Godsey is showing his hand a little bit, and I'm okay with that, because like, hey man, we're gonna run the rock and we're gonna run these tight ends out here, get some 13 personnel. I would love to see that, because you just don't see it that much in today's college game. So I feel like, man, you're gonna have defenses really in a pinch, because most of these guys are built to be in a nickel and base. You see a lot of nickel base defenses nowadays, like literally. In the league, this is 75% of the time that teams are in nickel. So if you run out there in 13 personnel, like, oh, coach, what we run? What we gonna do with 3 tight ends? Time out. Because, man, like, hey, man, we about to run the ball down your throat. What you gonna do about it? You gonna keep that 5th DB on the field? Good luck with that. So yeah, this is the way they went after it in the portal with this tight end position. It's a clear upgrade, hands down, clear upgrade. And I think that we're starting to see George Godsey's stamp being put on this offense, because the tight end will be utilized this year. I'll go ahead and say that right now.
Yeah, I'm you know what, I'm kind of excited for Jarvis. Yeah, I've obviously and I will stand by it, I've been critical of the decision to hire George Godsey, but if this means I see less screen passes in 2026, because man, if there was one thing I got tired of with Buster, it is the number of screen passes that defenses also knew were coming, just like I did. So yeah, I am all for, clearly the emphasis is on running the football, and you need your tight ends in order to block and make all that happen. But having them more as having your tight ends as your safety blankets rather than your play call and screens be your safety blanket, I think is going to be interesting. And I'm curious to see how it's all going to unfold. And I'm definitely feeling much, much stronger about this position group heading into the season than certainly we did before, well, kind of in the middle of the transfer portal window being open. But Jarvis, that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Georgia Tech. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts for free. Follow the show on social media, as well as Jarvis at JarvisD90. I'm at ATL Johnson 18. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Georgia Tech with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedongeorgiatech.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. For Locked On Georgia Tech, y'all have a good one.